Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Kennels. Figured I'd do a little short video here for y'all. I was actually just thinking to myself, I was like, since I do find horror movies to be very comedic, I figured, how did I get to that point first? Or how did I at least get to that point where to me they're funny and I don't find them to be scary? But I guess, with all horror fans, we all started from somewhere. And there was always either those few movies or at least that one movie that, just it always just stuck with you as a kid when you grew up just watching these horror movies. And, since, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, there was definitely a lot of horror movies during my time. A lot of stuff that, I would say was definitely scary. But there was always that one movie as a kid that was just always, I would guess I would have to say terrifying. That would probably be the best way I could put it. It was just terrifying to me. And not really because it was like a scary movie. I mean, even though at the time it was very scary, but it just had more to do with with its like religious aspect to it. And not to get into a whole like religion type of thing. 'Cause I don't care what you are. You practice what you want to practice, and if you don't want to practice nothing, well, don't practice nothing. That's your choice. But for me, I grew up as Catholic, went to Catholic school, so when it came to certain, not I don't want to say genres isn't what I'm looking for. Um, and it's not really even conversation pieces. Can't think of the word I'm looking for. But anyways, when it comes to certain things, and you end up watching it on TV as a little child, sometimes it can be very scary. For some, it might even be traumatic. I mean, it wasn't traumatic for me, but it definitely was terrifying. And that movie was none other than The Exorcist. Was just it always just terrified the shit out of me as a little kid. Um, I mean, now I've grown to, not be scared of it, but as a little kid, watching this for the first time, it was like, whoa, especially with the whole, like possession and exorcism and the whole religious thing to go along with it. It really threw a wrench in the gear, as one would say. So I would say, at least for me, this was probably one of my most scariest movies. Even though I would say the most terrifying movie. I really wouldn't say scariest, but I would say the most terrifying. As far as for me as a kid growing up, watching horror movies, I considered Halloween to be scary. I mean, that came out when I was a young kid. So that was definitely scary when it came out. I mean, you watch it now and you're like, yeah, it's not scary, but times are different now, and I guess with as much horror as we watched, certain things that were definitely scary back then, are just not scary now. But I still enjoy Halloween. I mean, I can watch it a whole bunch of times within a year, even during Halloween. Really doesn't matter. But as far as like I said, movies that just straight out, flat out, just had me terrified. It would be The Exorcist. I mean, that would be the movie. Especially when the girl, her head was twisting. It was like, oh my God, like that was just crazy. And the whole vomit, like it was just a wild movie. As a matter of fact, I even remember growing up, when we were still young, my mom used to tell us, yeah, the girl that played that was in that movie that played that girl, she had died, she committed suicide. Some crazy old story, and it wasn't even true, you know. But as a kid, you're like, oh my God, like, why would they do something like that? You know, why would they do, you know, that type of movie? But yeah, it was just one of those things. It was just wild as hell. And yeah, this was that movie for me. I mean, I watched a lot of crazy stuff, you know, a lot of crazy horror movies as a kid, especially in the drive-in theaters. But it was just something about The Exorcist, like, yeah, it was just crazy. It was buck wild between the possession, the demonicness, the crazy stuff they had the girl doing. I mean, there were some parts on her I was like, boy, she gonna go to hell for that one. Like the part with the cross when she's going like this. Yeah, you know, definitely as a little kid, I was like, yeah, that girl going to hell for that one. Like she's straight going to hell. Like ain't no way around that one, you know. But you know, they didn't really know that it was a movie at the time. I just found it extremely, extremely terrifying. But anyway, that was my movie that, you know, bothered me the most as far as horror movies are concerned. You know, you might have a different film, might be something totally different situation wise, aspect wise. You know, could be something that's related to your life, related to, you know, how you grew up. But whatever that is, you know, definitely you know, share your thoughts in the comment section. You know, I definitely like to know, you know, what was that one movie that really, really, really bothered you, that just had you scared shitless, like no matter what. You know, it could be more than one movie or it could just be one. But I know for me, that one was definitely The Exorcist. Wild movie. I mean, and I still find it wild to this day. But yeah, that was a crazy movie. And yes, I do still have my VHS from when this first came out. I used to have another VHS of it, but I don't know what happened to it. That was a long time ago. But this one I do still have. And should be still, well, the tape itself is still in good condition. And I only played this one a few times. I know my other one, I definitely played that a whole lot. So, yeah, but there's that. But I mean, I do have it in, you know, in other formats. So, you know, there's always that. Anyways, you know, I hope you enjoy that little tidbit as far as, you know, what movie I found to be the most frightening as a kid growing up. You know, definitely share your thoughts. Other than that, I guess, you know, I'll catch y'all on the next video and, you know, we'll see how things go. Anyways, it's been your boy, BULLBOYKENNELS, and as always, keep them scratching. Peace. We up out of here.